magazine. The first question I had to answer was, in what ways does your media product use, develop or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? Throughout the research and planning for my magazine front cover, I analysed two music magazines, Kerrang and Q magazine. These gave me an insight as to what I needed to include in my music magazine front cover, as I took various elements from each magazine. This was the first plan I did, and then these are the two magazines that I analysed. Taking inspiration from Q magazine, I decided I would place a slogan above the masthead to attract the reader and generate excitement about the magazine. This style of masthead in the Kerrang magazine appealed to me most as it spans the full width of the front cover, therefore I decided that my masthead would be the same. I felt that having an image blocking the masthead, like in the Kerrang magazine, was appropriate in a well-established magazine like Kerrang. However, an unknown magazine like mine wouldn't be suitable. Use of cover lines written on the top of the main magazine image is space-saving and aesthetically effective. This is used in many music magazines, and so I knew it would be effective in Splash magazine. The use of cover lines to the left side of the magazine, as seen in Q magazine here, seemed to establish an orderly layout, and so I felt this was the best place to add my own cover lines. I instantly knew during my research that I would use an image of the main band from my magazine as the background for my music magazine front cover, meaning it would span the whole size of the page. I felt this looked more professional, and it was used in the two music magazines I analysed in detail, where here the man was the main image and Coldplay were the main image for Q magazine. This was my final outcome of my music magazine front cover, and I feel it is in keeping with the conventions of other music magazines in terms of the masthead, main image and cover lines. As with almost all music magazines I have looked at, the masthead is in the prime position for competition against other music magazines on a newsagent shelf. This is essential, as often the masthead is all a prospective buyer will see, and so it must stand out. This is used in NME, Kerrang and Q, as the masthead is at the top of all of these pages. Music magazines will conventionally include a few sentences of cover lines over the top of the main image to encourage people to buy the magazine. These lines are often enticing and may tease the reader by only providing a little information. MySpace sensation indicates great internet hype and causes the reader to want to buy the music magazine and find out more. These cover lines were used over the image of 30 Seconds to Mars and Morrissey in Q magazine. These cover lines I have used are succinct, snappy and enticing. Beyonce musical influences will appeal to Beyonce fans, while Top 10 Breakthrough UK Acts of 2009 appeals to those who enjoy unsigned acts. These cover lines correspond to my questionnaires, where I learned that articles on both famous artists and new and unsigned acts are popular. I took inspiration from my cover lines from Q magazine and NME, and these are all used on the left-hand side, like mine. To research my contents pages, I analysed NME magazine and Q magazine. Like my music magazine front cover, I found various elements that I liked and wanted to imitate in my contents page. This is my contents page, this is Q magazine and NME. I chose this week, as NME used it in theirs. I chose to use subheadings as Q magazine and NME used them. The organisation of articles into subheadings is something I found in both NME and Q and in other music magazines I looked at. This immediately establishes a firm layout and results in an easily understood contents page. Both NME and Q used features as a subheading, therefore I included this in my magazine. Q magazine have an every month feature, and so I included this also. I found that in NME they used part of the contents page to promote the magazine itself, therefore I dedicated the bottom of my contents page to promoting a free gift in this issue. I found from my questionnaires that promotions like these will attract more buyers to my magazine. The idea for the CD itself came from the free CDs that Kerrang magazine have given away in the past. I used the unconventional style of Polaroid images on my contents page to add a little variety to Splash magazine. The contents pages I looked at had one singular image, but however I wished to use two or more, one of my main band and one of another artist. I found this image of a Glasgow band on the internet when I began my research and wanted to imitate this somewhere in the magazine, so I used Polaroid images like these. I included a section called Splash Review, as I got this idea from Q magazine contents page. This details a review of gigs, albums and unsigned acts that I felt would work well in the Splash magazine. I included the issue number and date on the contents page, as this is consistent with Q magazine. To plan my double page spread, I analysed Kerrang and NME magazine. While Kerrang was quite gothic and dark, NME provided helpful elements I could use in my own work. The title suggests a relatively new band and that this article will provide detailed background information. The colours reflect the house style of Splash also. The titles of articles are often catchy like this and entice the reader, and I found those ones were the best NCR we can be in other magazines. Use of a drop cap is important in setting the scene to the article. Like NME, the Splash drop cap introduces the band and the writer. I included subheadings to organise my double page spread more neatly. Pull quotes are a regular occurrence on music magazine double page spreads. These are usually larger than the main text and in a different colour. I added 2 pull quotes in my article to attract instant attention. To continue with the theme of the contents page, I added further Polaroid images here to establish a house style. Magazines spend great time developing a firm house style. Q magazine continually uses red, white and black throughout every magazine they issue. Like NME and Kerrang, which both use many images, I decided to dedicate the left side of my double page spread to images. Through my questionnaire research, I found that prospective readers enjoy use of images in the magazine, and so I think the use of my 5 images is appropriate. Challenging conventions. My music magazine front cover just contains one main image, whereas on other magazines there tend to be 3 or 4. I found through my questionnaire that my target audience prefer a simple layout with just 1 or 2 images, and so I chose to go against the usual convention and create a magazine with just one cover image. In my double page spread, I chose to have a title or headline of the page in the centre of the page rather than at the top left, as is conventional of other music magazines. I didn't want the title to overshadow the top of the main image, and so I decided to place it over the photo nearer the middle. This too adds diversity to the double page spreads and adds a little character. My contents page is generally conventional, although the use of Polaroid image is a little diverse and is rarely used in magazines. I feel this gives a laid-back presence to the indie magazine and is attractive also. Does your media product represent particular social groups? After undertaking my research and distributing my questionnaires, I found that indie and pop music were popular choices among my target readership of 14 to 22-year-olds. Therefore, I established the genre of the magazine as indie. However, there are certain pop influences, such as the mention of Lady Gaga, Beyonce and the Brit Awards. In this way, I feel my magazine presents the main musical interests of my target audience well, as it is not simply a niche magazine, but incorporates other musical influences also. Traditionally, a colour scheme of blue and grey would be viewed as being targeted at boys. However, in more recent times, it has been accepted that these conventional beliefs can be discarded, and so I feel that my magazine appeals to both genres. Much white is also used, for instance, for my cover lines, Polaroid images, subheadings and pull quotes. This denotes a fresh and clean-cut magazine, and the neutral colouring of white appeals to both genders. In terms of images used, I chose a large long shot image of 2 boys to be placed on my front cover and a smaller long shot of the boys on my contents page. These kinds of images are likely to appeal to both boys and girls, as boys may be interested in a band where the members are close in age to themselves and are interested in reading a rags to riches story. Similarly, girls may be attracted to the indie image and the clothing style of the 2 boys and will be interested in reading more about them. To ensure my magazine represented both sexes equally, I included an image of a female solo artist on my contents page. This adds variety and guarantees that a prospective reader will not feel that the magazine is targeted exclusively at one gender. I have used 4 different fonts throughout the music magazine front cover, contents page and double page spread. These to me represent an indie or punk style magazine, as the fonts are edgy and bold. I added this exclusively for the uncut double page spread to act as the logo for the band. It represents an edgy band with blue reflecting Splash House style. For this week, this is a neutral font used throughout the project. It is appealing to both genders and works well to represent an indie magazine. As with all the music magazines I looked at, simple Arial text was used for the main body of text. This allows my magazine to be simple and easy to read. And for the masthead, this is the main font I used. It is innovative and edgy and comes to represent Splash anytime it is used.